The following is a barefoot video production. The 2020 moose hunt, Hunting the High Ground, was filmed in northern Manitoba with Agassiz outfitters. The video shows the before, during, and the work after a moose hunt at their camps on the Churchill River. Hello everyone, my name is Bubba. I am the voice inside of Bob the Stalker's head. He asked me to speak to you today as he has a terrible narration voice. Thank you and enjoy the video.
This week on Canada in the Rough, Keith Beasley is on a fly-in moose adventure in northern Manitoba. He'll be hunting along the Churchill River with Agassiz outfitters and has some up-close and personal encounters. This week on Canada in the Rough.
With no non-resident hunters to guide this season, Rick, Jordan and Bob are heading to Moose Camp to do camp upgrades. Agassiz Outfitters will also be hosting an episode of Canada in the Rough with Keith Beasley. Keith will be hunting out of the Rapids camp with Jordan Liskey as his guide. Keith and his cameraman Mike, along with Brian and Brendan, will be flying up in a couple of days. Brian and Brendan are also coming up to help with the camp upgrades. With the plane loaded, they are on their way for a 16-day work and hunting adventure. Besides doing camp upgrades, Rick has given Bob and Brian the opportunity to take one bull moose between the two of them. On the way to main camp, the plane flies over some of the more than 100,000 lakes that Manitoba has to offer. As they approached the main camp, they could see that the water levels on the Churchill River were very high this year. This would mean that the camp repairs and moose hunt were going to be a bigger challenge.
Well, we got no shoreline.
After a 1-hour flight from Thompson, Rick, Jordan and Bob have unloaded the plane on the island. With no shoreline, they had to make do with what little space they had.
Well, we got left on the island. This is it. The high ground. We're on the high ground.
After setting up the guide tent and kitchen, the work of salvaging the flooded boats began. With high winds to contend with, it made this job even more difficult. It was obvious that with these high water levels, they had their work cut out for them. First thing was to get a couple of motors and boats ready. Finally, the winds let up. Time to head upriver to the rapids camp. The setup and camp work would take the better part of the day. Rick, Jordan and Bob are on their way. As they head towards the rapids, they could see because of the high water that there would be no problem navigating the river this year. After setting up the rapids camp, the boys headed back to main camp. They wanted to make sure everything was ready for the Canada in the Rough crew arriving in the morning. The plane arrived on time, with the Canada in the Rough crew and more camp help. These turbo otters are the workhorse of the North, and with the ability of changing the pitch of their prop, enables them to be backed into some tight spots. With the plane unloaded and heading back to Thompson, it's time for Keith, his cameraman Mike and the guide Jordan to head to their camp at the rapids. After making sure that Jordan, Keith and Mike were safely on their way to spend the next 10 days at the rapids camp, Bob, Brian, Brendan and Rick headed downriver.
Yep.
After loading the boats with firewood, it was then hauled to the downriver camp to replenish the wood supply. With the high water, they were able to boat right up to the wood pile.
Yeah. Wood. Firewood. Downriver camp. Home of Brian the Moose Minnis and Bob the Stalker Hishka for next year. Home sweet home. We're opening up a spa here.
With 2021 being the debut of the spring bear hunt in this area, Rick wanted to make sure the bear baits were up and running. Trail cameras were set up to see if there was any activity on the baits while Rick and his crew were up working on the camps.
We don't hunt in this weather. It's ridiculous. I signed up for this. See, Ginger, see what I do for you?
With all the camp work done, it was time for Brian and Bob to go out, try to find a bull, and fill their moose tag. Over the next couple of days, Brian and Bob hunted hard, both by boat and any dry land they could find. With a variety of weather and high water to contend with, they knew all of their usual spots were not going to be huntable.
Probably not. Probably not. We'll go up on the high ground.
The high water gave them access to areas they wouldn't normally hunt. Creeks that were normally too low to navigate were now totally navigable. Bob and Brian decided to give one of Bob's favorite spots a try. This was high ground which he called the Burnt Hill. This would give them a high vantage point from which to call and glass the distant shoreline. Brian began his infamous moose calling techniques. They sat for about an hour when Brian noticed movement on a hill across the river from their location. Once he got Bob's attention, they decided to go after the bull on the other side. Brian and Bob had decided that Brian would drive the boat and that Bob would be the shooter.
Get your gun ready.
In Manitoba, it is legal to hunt from a boat, as long as the motor is shut off and the forward momentum of the boat has stopped. With bullets in hand and his rifle at the ready, Brian and Bob slowly worked their way towards the bull on the far shoreline. With the motor turned off, the wind and current were pushing against each other. This gave Bob an opportunity to take the shot.
You ready? No. He's going down right there. No, there he goes. Going down.
It looked like all of Bob's preseason target practice has paid off. He made a perfect shot on the bull.
Thanks, buddy.
Good shooting.
Good eye spot in my crosser.
What's that?
I said good eye spot in my crosser. I wasn't even looking. I was watching the other way.
Yeah. Good shooting. I didn't think I wish you didn't have a shot. Congratulations.
It's been a long time since I've had that feeling. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad for you.
Screw the. Oh, you had your camera on.
I had it on.
Hopefully, we got something there.
With this being the 18th season that Bob's been up at moose camp, this is his first bull moose in 20 plus years. His time has been spent guiding for big game rather than hunting for himself. Bob says, the only difference between hunting for himself and guiding is that when he is guiding he doesn't get to pull the trigger. Other than that, the adrenaline rush and excitement levels are the same.
Don't drop it in the mud.
Mine hit the ground. Yours didn't.
Got it?
Yep.
There.
Didn't you notice how I cradled yours and let mine fall?
Here, put some bullets in now before. We'd both look really stupid if he got up. I don't have a bullet in the spout, just in the magazine. Okay. Yeah, I figured it's right up here somewhere.
Body, eh? Holy. I'm pushing out the old bull. 7. Yeah. Big body.
Both Bob and Brian have been guiding this area since 2003. They are good friends and no matter who got to shoot the moose, they were both happy for each other.
How long is up here? Thanks, Brian. Oh.
It was later determined that Bob had made the shot from about 150 meters from the boat and that his bullet hit the bull directly in the heart. This explained why the bull didn't travel very far and went down almost immediately.
Let's see if I can get his head up on top of that one.
Yeah, we'll cut down some. This is Saturday, what did we say, the 26th. 26th of September. Bob just shot a nice bull.
Bob has always professed to be a meat hunter and not a trophy hunter. This moose will be shared between Brian and himself and will be enjoyed by both families.
Big small, Bob.
They'll be good eating.
Yeah. We'll get more pictures later.
I'll bring the chainsaw.
Yeah.
My tag is down in the boat. I'll notch it when we get there. There, Brian, I'll just put your head net on. Okay. Put your head net. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna get in behind there with my gun. Okay. It's running right now.
And the black flies are just horrendous.
As usual, pictures and video are a must. Not only are they a good keepsake, but it is great for helping to share the overall experience with friends and family.
So, what do you got to say for yourself, Mr. Bob?
Well, we won't go hungry this winter. That's all I got to say. Thanks to my guide Brian for an excellent job of spotting this bull all the way across the river. We're actually right up in the cutting area where we cut firewood for our camp. So he was with a cow, nice big cow, following up the hill. And Brian maneuvered the boat into position, shut the motor off, and he gave me a broadside shot.
Yep, nice shot too.
Yeah, so I'm pretty happy.
Yep, bull went about 50 yards, 60 yards maybe. That's about it.
Yeah, he circled a couple of times and just fell right here.
Good.
Thanks, Brian.
You bet.
Once the photo session was done and respects paid to the moose, Bob and Brian headed to camp to get the chainsaw. It would be needed to clear a path down to the boat for the moose carryout. They would also need the stretcher and meat saw for the job ahead.
Come on, buddy.
Oh, yeah. You got on video?
It's a recording right now, so we can pose any way we want. Yeah, here it is. The almighty moose.
There's a big bull.
Some good eating here. Yeah.
Huge body on him. Perfect shot. Congratulations.
Thanks, Brian. Look at the camera. Okay. Now I'll go hit the record button.
Sure.
No, I'm just kidding. I just said it.
He's been traveling. His hooves are worn.
Yeah? Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take a still shot. Ready? Nice. Now you can do the same for me. That's a nice picture. I'll sit where you were. All you gotta do is hit the snapshot button on top.
Okay. Ready?
That's good.
Bob was hoping that Rick and Brendan could give them a hand with the moose, but they were nowhere in sight. Bob left a note on the table so Rick would know that a moose was down, where it was located, and their help was needed. It's an unwritten rule up at moose camp that when an animal is down, it's all hands on deck to help with processing and getting it back to main camp as soon as possible.
Okay.
So that just saved us an hour and a heart attack?
Yeah.
Later that evening, Rick received a message from Jordan on his inReach. He let Rick know that Keith had a bull down and they would also need a hand to get it out. With not much daylight left, it was decided that it would be best if the four of them headed upriver first thing in the morning to give Jordan and Keith a hand with their moose. Up early and after a quick breakfast, the boys then headed upriver through the rapids. Keith's moose was about 1 kilometer upriver from their camp.
Well, should be room there. Hi.
How are you, buddy?
Good. Nice ball. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to you guys. Is it just going to be a video walking by that shot, Keith? Okay, you ready? Yeah. Look at this car. Yeah. Bob, you should have went ahead of us all week. I just cut. Brian did the clearing.
With filming any TV show, there is a lot that goes on and off camera. Once edited, the video will take on a smooth workflow.
Mike
Do you want to go on another boat so Jordan and I can put this at the front and you get us floating back? Yeah.
Okay, Keith, big smile.
With all 7 of them working on Keith's bull, it didn't take long to process and load it into the boat for the trip back to camp. Once back at main camp, all of the meat was hung up on poles. With still a couple of days before the plane was due to arrive, more firewood would be needed in order to keep the wood stoves going. The next morning, Rick, Brendan, Brian and Bob headed upriver to help Jordan with his camp teardown. Once at the Rapids camp, everybody pitched in to help. Keith and Mike aren't afraid of hard work, and their help with the teardown and putting the boats up on higher ground was very much appreciated. Two more guys that aren't afraid of hard work are Jordan and his brother Brendan. These boys do a lot of the bull work and help the older guys, Bob and Brian, a lot.
Open the front of your shirt. I want to see that Team Agassiz.
How's that?
That's beautiful.
Beautiful, eh? Beautiful, just like the guys wearing them.
We'll have to get one. We'll have to get one to you guys for Christmas.
Oh yeah.
With all the work complete at the Rapids camp, everyone heads back to main camp. The boats will no longer be needed until next spring. Therefore, they will be put up on high ground and the motors, fuel and paddles will be stored in the metal shed. With main camp taken down and all of the boats and motors put away, the plane finally arrives carrying a new boat and supplies for next spring's bear hunt. With no other access to these remote areas, float planes are the only option. Everything has to be flown in. A new freezer is also brought in for the spring bear hunt's meat and hides. The plywood will be used for floors and any repairs that may be required in the future. Once everything is unloaded, the work begins to start loading the moose meat, racks, and Keith and Mike's gear for the trip back to Thompson. All of the planes used for the hunt this year either belong to or are leased to Wings over Kississing out of Thompson.
Safe travels, eh?
Yeah. Thanks, boys. Be safe.
Hey.
Thanks, Dave.
Good.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Safe travels, thanks for an awesome trip.
With Keith and Mike on their way back to Thompson, Rick and the crew have about 2.5 hours before the plane returns to pick them up. This will give them more than enough time to put the new boat away, store the plywood and freezer. With one more check to make sure everything has been cleaned up and put away, the guys are looking forward to going home. They've been in camp for 16 days now.
Big bad boss.
To watch the full episode of the moose hunt with Canada in the Rough, tune into the Sportsman Channel US, February 16, 2021, as well as City TV in Canada, February 21, 2021. I hope you have enjoyed Hunting the High Ground, a video produced, directed, edited and created by professional guide Bob the Stalker Hishka. To book a hunt with Agassiz Outfitters, their contact information is as follows.